Well, let's get more on Alex Salmond's death with Denis Macshane, who is a former British Minister of European Affairs. Thanks so much for joining us on the programme, Denis. I want to first of all start off by, asking you about Salmond because he's been described as many things over the last day. Divisive, fiery, charming. Give us your thoughts on who you think he was.
He was above all one of the new breed of nationalist politicians that we've seen grow in Europe in this century, who puts a sort of ethno-nationalist identity politics before everything else. He got a referendum on separating Scotland from the UK. Let me add, I was born in Scotland. My mother, well, half my family, obviously deeply, deeply Scottish, and I was always horrified at this attempt to break up a fabulous union of nations. We've seen that in Spain, people who want to break apart Catalonia from the rest of Spain, seeing it in England, where Nigel Farage wants to break away England from the rest of Europe, and I can cite other examples around Europe. But as a man, incredibly charming, he loved to drink, he's very witty, a great guy to debate with. I disagreed with him on liberating Kosovo from the Milosevic terrorism because, of course, he was opposed to taking action to defend Europe and support European democracy when it really counted. But a huge, huge figure, very controversial. Above all, he lost the independence referendum, so really killed the independence dream by calling it, and it's never come back into life. And Scotland now, economically and socially, is in a far worse position than England, partly because of nationalist government there, which he represented. But personal problems indeed, family problems, other problems, but a loss. I mean, he was a big, big figure and very witty, very charming. I mean, I may be a political critic, but I loved his company.
Well, Denis, I do want to just focus in on just how much of a role he played during that referendum in 2014. We've been mentioning that he is most known for that. Lay out for us the role that he played in that referendum.
Well, very simply, he insisted on it. He said the Scots are panting for independence. And David Cameron, who paradoxically followed to some extent in Salmond's footsteps by offering a plebiscite, a populist anti-immigration, anti-European plebiscite in England, has given us Brexit, which has done so much damage to England. But at the time, he said Scots were panting for independence, but they weren't. I mean, his particular group, his party, his sect, his nationalist supporters wanted to break up the United Kingdom. And the Scots said, hang on a second, okay, I mean, we're a bit antsy about England. We don't like being run all the time by the English. But no, we're still part of the same nation state and we're much, much stronger together. And they quietly said, sorry, Alex, we're going to go with the Labour Party opposed it, the Liberal Democrats opposed it, and of course the Conservatives opposed it. And Alex lost that. And after that, he became a slightly lost soul. A lot of controversy about women and court cases. I don't go into any of that on the day that he's just after he's died. And he bust apart from Nicola Sturgeon, his Dauphin or Dauphine, and formed his own breakaway nationalist party called Alba, but he got no votes in subsequent elections. And there he was touring, bits of Europe like North Macedonia, which is a great place, giving speeches to some American institute who pay big fees to ex-political leaders to come and give speeches.
And Denis, give us a sense of what sort of legacy he's going to leave behind now. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has called him a monumental figure who will leave behind a lasting legacy. Describe for us what that will be.
Well, I'm slightly confused by Sir Keir's enthusiasm. Look, he was a big figure, so obviously he's died and died rather suddenly in a not at home, but suddenly in the Balkans. So people are paying a natural and emotional tribute. He's a very emotional man who generated very emotional responses. But his legacy, paradoxically, is that Scotland now is not going to leave the United Kingdom. The Scots are not going to follow Tory England, who into leaving in England's case Europe, and his party is much weaker now than when he was First Minister of Scotland, my own view is across Europe too. I'm not sure the ultra ethno-nationalists who want to bust up the European Union are succeeding as well. I hope they may have peaked.
And just briefly, I do want to ask you about where his death leaves the independence movement now.
Well, weaker than ever. He had a very able successor, a woman called Nicola Sturgeon, who was a very impressive politician. He coached her, he tutored her, he brought her on. But then when she stood against him, he got very tense and upset, and the Scottish Nationalist Party started to break apart a bit. You see them, the two of them are there. She's now out of the picture now. You heard Mr. Swinney, the current First Minister of Scotland, a moment ago. I mean, no disrespect. I mean, he's a thoughtful, serious man. He's already been First Minister for a while, 20 years ago. But that's all he's doing, and I'm afraid the idea that Scotland is going to bust apart the United Kingdom is no longer, I think, live on the agenda.
Denis Macshane, former British Minister of European Affairs. Thanks so much for joining us on the programme and giving us your thoughts there. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you.